Well, hey everybody! Welcome to this week's episode of Life Matters TV. I'm Tommy Stoffel, and I'm going to shortly introduce my co-host David McLeod here today. Friday, the 22nd or so of August.
Close enough.
And today we have a very special guest with us. And if I missed the date, then oh well, it's Friday at least.
Always special.
And we have a very special guest with us that David's going to introduce. So, David, why don't you do the honors and welcome our guest to the show and get things going.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome, everybody. David McLeod here, speaker, facilitator, and coach. And I'm up here in San Francisco, and my buddy Tommy is down there in L.A. somewhere. And we have another person from L.A. somewhere, a very special guest, a good friend of ours, someone I met through the Messenger network about 3 or 4 years ago, and someone who's actually been a great inspiration to me, the beautiful and amazingly talented Lynn Rose, who has just, you're going to love her. But I'm not even going to waste any more time introducing her. I'm just going to say, hey, Lynn, welcome, and glad you could be here on the show with us today, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. Finally, right? We've been trying to make this happen for a little while, so this is great, and to see you guys in action is awesome.
So I guess the first question I'd like to ask you, Lynn, is, well, I know what we're going to be talking about in a general sense, but before we do that, the title of our show is Life Matters TV. Mm-hmm. And so the one question that we like to ask all our guests, and I didn't prep you for this, so you're going to just be speaking off the cuff here, is what really matters to you in your life?
I actually have thought about this, like when it really comes down to everything, and for me, it's connection. Mm-hmm. So for me, connection is everything, and that's what matters. My connecting to who I am, to my purpose, to those that I love, to spirit, to life, and I wish that for other people as well. And I think, so much of what happens is we let other stuff get in the way, and it ends up being a barrier to us fully experiencing life and fully experiencing and living our possibilities. So I know for me, and what I even think in life in general, like what really matters is that connection. And then you feel the absolute juice of life and each other, and that we matter.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. And I think connection is a key word, actually. And that's something that Tommy and I have been talking about a lot. We actually had a conversation on the phone the other day, and we were talking about the importance of connecting with people at a heart level. Tommy, you want to just kind of take a little deep dive into that?
Yeah, Lynn, thanks for bringing it up, because this is a topic that a lot of us struggle with, especially a lot of us who are out here in the world trying to help, and we sometimes feel like we're alone, right? We sometimes feel like we're fighting uphill, we're swimming upstream without any support or any help. And it's just important to just know and feel in your heart that there's a lot of us here doing this, and there's a lot of us here supporting, and we're connected to each other at the heart level, as David's talking about, and that's what we try to do here at Life Matters, is to really let people know that we're all in this together, we're all connected, and not only connected to each other heart-wise, but we're connected, we're plugged into the big, we're hardwired into the big source. So remember that connection as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's actually one of the, well, covers
so dead airspace. So
oh, you can hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Maybe there's a delay. Sometimes there's a delay. So, no, I was going to say that's great, and it echoes what is like one of the, I have the 3 principles to play your biggest game ever, and I think that first one really, which we'll talk about when we get talking about it, but addresses kind of, it's in the realm of what you were just talking about. So.
Okay, so that's great. And so, Lynn, since you brought up the subject, what is it that you do in order to increase or deepen your connection with people? How do you make that happen in your life?
Well, I feel like, those of us who are out there sharing a message or a product or service or books or whatever that might be, whatever way you're sharing something of service to people, I believe if we're authentic and we're on the true path, we're really sharing a message that we're living, that we've lived, that's part of our experience. And it really is part of my experience in that my whole work is around, let's call it WOW. And WOW is an acronym for without walls, with dash out walls, without walls. And I went through a period of time of my life where I had, as a kid, I'd shut down and built up all these walls, still out there doing my thing because I love to perform and all this. I've come from the entertainment industry and transformation industry. But at a period of time in my 20s, just got off a Broadway show, I got completely shut down by fear and those negative voices, and all the life stuff that goes on was just amplified to where I couldn't sing, I couldn't perform, I could barely function. And I went through about 2 years of being shut down to that extreme level. And then ended up being a gift, though, because as I found my way through it, I then started healing different layers of myself and also letting go of those walls that I had so built up. So don't really see who I really am back here. Just look at the walls, look at the pretty picture on the outside, you know, and really learning about the value of when we can release those walls, what we experience, what that connection is, but also my work ended up becoming worlds better as far as my performing, even how I felt about my performing. Eventually then I got into TV hosting. Eventually I got into having my own radio show on personal achievement. I then now have been in the transformation industry since 2002 actually, and had programs all basically with that as a real core factor. So for me, that's like the key part of the work for me and why I do what I do. That's
great. Well, all I can say is, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Lynn, it's nice to hear it, and people, we all say it in different ways, but you know, it's another brick in the wall, right? As Pink Floyd says, and it's a matter of breaking down those bricks and taking it apart, you know, and that can scare some people, but that's why you're here. That's why David's here. That's why I'm here. That's why there are, you know, coaches and assistants here to help take that wall apart. Yeah. Because when you do, man, the light and the energy and the power of what you came here to be and to do just lasts through and just becomes everything. So.
Right on.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're all here to do, I think. Even the people who maybe haven't realized it yet. And so what I see as our job here is to help wake up those ones who are still kind of in their drowsy state. They're still kind of sleeping. Maybe they're still sleepwalking. I don't know. Our job really is to connect with them in some way and to wake them up. And it's only going to take the right person to come along. I mean, I might not be the right person to wake up a certain person, but Tommy might be the right person, or Lynn might be the right person. You know, there's plenty of people for all of us to wake up.
Yeah, and wake up doesn't mean people are necessarily doing something wrong. It's just not. It's like what they don't know, they don't know. Exactly. There's so much more available. They don't realize they may be living out of these made-up paradigms in their head, and if it could be dissolved.
Okay. Uh-oh. We seem to have lost Lynn there. I'm not sure what happened.
Where did you lose me?
Ah, there you are. Well, now I can hear you, but I can't see you. Oh, now you're back. I love technology.
Yay, go technology. All right, where did you lose me? Because I was saying a really important point. You know when that happens, a really important point's being said.
At what point did you lose me? You feel like you are,
Lynn,
right?
I think you said something like...
I'll just say it again, because it bears repeating.
There you go.
Did you say something about dissolve?
The Dow. Yeah, no. I was saying what I think happens is that it's not like people are doing something wrong. They're just living their lives by what they've been programmed or even unconsciously programmed. And it's more about just helping people see what they don't know they don't know. Borrowing that expression from Landmark, but truly that's what it is, helping them see what they don't know and don't realize they may be living inside these made-up paradigms in their head, keeping them scared or stuck or stopped. And when you're able to break through and see what we're making up in our minds, the ways that we're being held back, you then have choice. And then you can, so that's what I look at when you say wake up. But
yeah. That's actually really good, Lynn.
Yeah,
I'll talk about. Sorry, Tommy, go ahead.
Take it, Tom.
I just wanted to build on that, what Lynn was saying. Yeah, we've got some delays going on here, but what Lynn was saying about the walls oh right, we're not doing anything wrong, and it's not a matter of always waking up. We can still, I was in my spiritual practice for 10 years, and I was still waking up worried every morning. So I still had bricks on the wall. I hadn't found them all. I haven't discovered them all. So you can be, walking a path and doing all this great work. There's still stuff to do. There's still stuff to do, and it's still, part of that wow without walls is there's still pieces there that we can work on. And that's what we do, right, Lynn? That's what we do, David. Bring up these different places where sometimes we're blocked.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just keep helping people and helping ourselves along the way.
Well, and that's great, and may I actually give some...
Okay, be there.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, Lynn. I think Tommy's having some problems on his end.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good old technology, but we're working through it. We're playing through it. If I can share some of those 3 points about play your biggest game ever, because I'm like chomping at the bit to share the point number 1, which I think is just relevant to everything we're saying here. And there's 3 aspects. Of course, there's many, but if I chunk it down to 3 aspects to play your biggest game ever, and the first is actually embracing our humanness. And I think what happens is we make it worse on ourselves by beating ourselves up for not being perfect, not getting it right, not being where we want to be right now, all the different things that when we compare and we see it's this way or that way, or I look at this person and they're elevated, they're on a platform of some sort, whether that's in their business as a boss, a celebrity, or someone who's succeeding, or a friend who's maybe quote-unquote more successful than they are, whatever that might be, or someone's got a relationship and they don't, whatever that is in that comparison. And then you think, okay, well, they must have something I don't, or they must, they've worked it out, so now they're perfect, and I got to just work on my stuff, and then I can get where I want to be. Then I'll be fine. And then we don't ever allow ourselves to really be okay and embrace our humanness, and it's an unconscious foot on the brake. And once we realize that, I don't care who you're edifying, whether that's, and forgive me for giving names, but Bill Gates or Wayne Dyer or who it might be, they're human. They have their moments where they might yell at a car that cuts them off in traffic. They have their moments where they wake up in bed worried. They have their moments where they doubt themselves. I mean, they might understand how to manage it better, because by staying diligent on always wanting to grow and play their biggest game ever, they've learned about how to manage it. But I can guarantee it comes up, and they have moments where they experience it, and then they, allow it and move on. And the more we can allow ourselves that and recognize someone's not better than us or less than us, that we're all human. That's like a disconnect when we get into that elevating or edifying someone or looking down on someone because they aren't at the level we're playing at. That none of that matters. At the end of our life, if we're lucky to live to the very end and die of natural causes of old age, the very end of our life, it's great. And I know I want to be knowing I've lived my purpose fully, made a big impact, had accomplishments that made a difference. But at the end of your life, you're not sitting there being concerned about significance. You're there present, realizing, wow, look at that beautiful tree, and just appreciating the simple moments of a bird's song, or the people that you love, and what that means to you. And I say that like I've been at the end of my life, so I know. But I know plenty of people who have, and who's reflected that back, and read a lot of research on that. And I think about myself, and then I want to know I've been thoroughly used up, and ultimately what matters is our humanness, that love, that connection. All the other stuff is just stuff. Yes, want to live our purpose as best we can, but ultimately we want to love and live fully as best we can. So that's the number 1.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, and I'm not hearing you. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me okay?
Hearing me at all? Testing. Now I'm here.
Yes. Now
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say that the whole embrace your humanness thing is something, Tommy and I talk about this all the time, and I think that it has a lot of components in it that you're talking about. One is, in order for me to embrace my humanness, I have to know who I am. That's the first thing. And that means I have to be willing to look at the dark side. I have to be willing to look at those parts of myself that up till now I have been choosing not to show to the world. I have to bring light to those, and I have to heal them, and I have to bring them back in. Otherwise, I can't embrace my humanness. I'm only embracing a part of my humanness. So I think that's really important. And the other thing that you said that really struck me was this idea of presence. I mean, you didn't use the word presence, but I think presence was very present in your conversation, because you talked about just feeling that sense of love, of just being with the one you're with, and being present. Really, that's what I heard, and I think it's a great point. So thank you for bringing it up. Tommy, do you have to say something? You want to say something there?
Oh yeah.
No, David, you brought it up. I was going to talk about understanding who you are, and Lynn, part of what we need to do too, right? Accepting who we are. Accepting our mistakes, and that we're going to continue to make mistakes. It's okay, people. We're going to continue to make mistakes or not get it right all the time. And the thing, something that helps cushion that is forgiveness. This constant wave of forgiveness, because we're learning. We're learning as we go too. So all that, living your humanness, forgiving, being willing to make mistakes, be out there and take risks and face those fears. Right on, Lynn. Thanks for number one.
Oh yeah, and recognizing, like David, as we do work on improving ourselves, we need to do it from a place of not judging it, because I think our judgments are our jailers. And I mean judgments of others, judgments of ourselves, judgments of should have been this, should have been that. When you can abolish all that or dissolve all that and just be with what is, and now what are you going to do as you move forward? I mean, it takes away the heaviness and it stops our full living. It stops our presence when we get caught up in the judgment of it. Just notice, oh, okay, you know what? Next time I will handle that differently. Or, okay, I realize I wish I hadn't done that, but what can I learn from this? How can I move forward and let it go? Or, being betrayed by someone, let's say, when that happens sometimes, whether that's in a relationship or business partnership. And if we hold on to that, then that's going to eat us up. So like you said, Tommy, that forgiveness is so important. And it's not like don't edify what they did if you regret it, but just let it go. And how can you use it now as fuel for moving forward and what you learn from it and making you stronger, making you ever more determined or whatever that is, so that you can bless it, but also not hold on to it, not let it eat you. So really, our judgments are our jailers, and it's that when we can let that go while embracing our humanness. And then the next two is then how you now move forward, kind of what you were talking to David, in playing the biggest game ever.
All right. Well, so tell us then. Don't hold back. I'm curious. What is number two?
Why are you holding back?
So what's number two?
The next two, I think, play. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you just go ahead and tell us what number two is.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I don't have to hold this thing up to my mouth, or do you want me to hold it up to my mouth?
No, you don't have to hold it. No, it's all good.
Oh, love it. Love it. All right. So, number two, David and Tommy. They play together, and I was really looking at this and thinking this. If you really want to play your biggest game ever, you have to be willing to play outside your comfort zone or to step beyond your comfort zone. You have to be willing to try something on you've never done before, to try on something new, to have new experiences. And too often we hit a comfort zone, we want to stay in there. But if we want to play our biggest game ever, and part of really getting to continue to explore and experience life in its fullest way means kind of developing that muscle of being willing to step outside and play in that area of the I don't know. Dancing in the ambiguity, my mom calls it. Like calling it dancing in the I don't know. Being willing to step out in that place. And from there is where you can grow and explore and new things can open up. Now sometimes it might not work out. Sometimes you might not like what you then discover, but now you know. And now for next time you'll understand and you'll go. So getting to really allow yourself and even live by being willing to go into that uncomfort zone, the the Wizard of Oz. And the third, and we can then talk about
hold it. Before you go to the third one, let's just talk a little bit about this one first.
Sure.
And this is something that Tommy and I have shared before, and I think one thing that I like to tell people is that just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean it's unsafe. And that's part of the problem in our thinking. You know, we get it in our heads, up here in our brain. Oh, this is going to be really dangerous. I'm going to get hurt. Someone is going to do this, that. And so we build this big story that it's beyond discomfort. It's now into the realm of danger and a danger to my well-being and so forth. So I think stepping outside the comfort zone means recognizing, first off, that it's not as dangerous as you think it is. And so this means we have to look inside and say, well, what is the real danger here? We have to be able to look at that and say, oh, I guess I'm making up a story that this is more dangerous than it really is. I bet if I tried this, it wouldn't be as scary as I think it is. So stepping outside the comfort zone actually becomes a little bit easier.
And being okay with the fear, you know, because the fear is going to come up. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go, Tommy.
You're right on, Lynn. I was going to talk a little bit about fear. The fears are going to come up, so I'm going to just go on with what you were saying there. And you're talking around fears. Let's just face these fears. There are real dangers in life, but they're pretty far and few between. Most of the stuff that we're afraid of is false evidence appearing real, right? It's stuff in our head. And when you turn to face these imaginary fears, they dissolve pretty quickly. So doing stuff like stepping out, you know, you might be a little nervous about it because some fear in the back of your head is saying don't do it, or last time you did this, you failed. Ignore it. Blow past it. Get out there. Like you said, play. You got to play. You got to be willing to play. You got to step above the fear, get over it, leave it behind, and come out and play.
And I think adding to what you said, Tommy, because I know, at least this is from my experience, because I can be the biggest scaredy cat. Just historically in my life, I can get so scared, even though I've done something a million times, you know, the nerves. But what I've learned to do is to dance with the fear. If we think we've got to make it go away first, or ignore it and push it away, then it will be insidious and either stop us, or we'll never move forward because we feel like we got to handle the fear first. And I think it's about being in partnership with the fear.
Yeah, I think. I
have an example if I can share.
Well, you're breaking up a little bit, Lynn. I just wanted to say while you're getting your audio back, this dancing with the fear and versus avoiding it. I think it was Neil Donald Walsh who popularized the phrase, what you resist persists.
Right.
And I don't know where that originally came from. I think it's a kind of a Buddhist teaching or something, but it really resonates for me. The more I try to fight my fear and push it away, the more it shows up in my life. I think the first thing, and we go back to step one here, embracing. If we can embrace the fear and just dance with it, we'll discover that it's not as bad as we thought it was. And I think this is what both you and Tommy are saying, and I'm just kind of rephrasing it.
Yeah, and it does.
Face them, embrace them, and dance with them.
Nice.
However it works out.
Hey, baby, that's good. But but you know, it doesn't, because we experience it too. I think sometimes people then start to interpret a meaning, and that means I'm not supposed to do it, or that means I don't have what it takes, or that means I'm not good enough. And the thing to get, again, in the embracing the humanness and embracing the fear, being willing to play and dance in that uncomfort zone, is that everybody experiences that. Are you hearing me okay? I just heard a...
Yep.
Okay.
You're fine.
But everybody experiences that. Some people have found their way to manage it or build up that muscle so they're not as gripped by fear, let's say. But, hey, Barbra Streisand, she's considered one of the greatest singers on the planet, has kept a bucket by the side of the stage to throw up in because she gets that nervous every time she goes to perform.
Yeah.
And some of that, so she doesn't let it stop her. She doesn't make it mean she doesn't have what it takes. She just like, okay, that's part of, if anything, I think it just makes her so present, because in order for her to hit that note and share her brilliance, she so has to be present and connected to the moment with all that fear dancing around. So in a way, for her, it's a gift, and for others it can be too.
Right.
But to share, now, do we have time for me to share that little experience that kind of illustrates the dancing with fear?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I was in one of my first official speaking bookings. I had been out there TV hosting, radio hosting, emceeing events and things like that. But now I was putting myself out there as a speaker, and that was in 2003, 2004. And I had been seen for my first time ever speaking at a speaker's event, just because of connections I knew and things I'd been doing. And this person then hired me on the spot for their big event for 8,000 chiropractors.
Wow.
And they took Bob Eubanks off the bill in order to put me on, okay? Wow. And no pressure, right? And in the audience was Mark Victor Hansen, John DeMartini, John Gray, a lot of people that I looked up to, because this is like a really huge event that's 3 days that these guys all speak at. And so they were there for this big kickoff night that I'm to do my emceeing, singing, and speaking, right? So I had flown in the night before on a red eye because I had something else in Florida. I'd flown into Vegas and arrived with no sleep. And because I was a newer speaker, I didn't realize maybe you should let them know what your speech is in case they want something else. So when I shared it with them once I was there that morning, they tossed out my speech and created a new one for that night. And there was no way to have notes because it was one of those things with the big boom cameras everywhere and big iMags that are 3 stories high on either side. I can't even put notes on the ground because the boom camera would get it. And for whatever reason, there wasn't a teleprompter or a podium. I had no place for notes. And I was already scared because that was a huge opportunity. And so I'm backstage. And by the way, no pressure, right? So I'm backstage, bent over in fear and sickness, just like, oh my God, someone get me a bucket, I'm gonna heave, and please, I was just like begging as the clock is ticking closer and closer, oh my God, and I'm literally rocking back and forth. I don't know if you've ever been there that afraid, but I was just praying that the fire alarm would go off so that they would have to clear everybody out and I wouldn't have to do it, you know. Yeah. Whatever. But now it's getting closer and closer to the time, and I have to go on. But finally, I just went, okay, failure is not an option. You have to show up here. They risk so much with you, and these people so need to hear how they're #1 in the healing arts because they've been working so hard and only getting so far in their businesses. They need to hear X, Y, Z. I took myself outside of focusing on the fear and what if all the what ifs, what if I forget, what if I don't do it, am I good enough, I don't know what I'm doing, all that stuff. I then directed my focus away from that. I let it dance because there was nothing else I could do. It was going to dance, whether I liked it or not. So I let it dance all around me. But instead of focusing on that, I focused on what these people needed to hear, taking myself outside of all those other voices. And I also knew that if I just made it like a conversation with my best friend and played with it, like who knows what's going to come out, but just play with it. Don't feel like I got to get it just right or that'll shut you down too. So if I just played with it, there's the play, and kept my focus, and even if I had to keep bringing my focus back, not to the fear, but back to the purpose. Not the fear, but the purpose. Not the fear, but the intention. And the intention was the connection. But then, even if I did forget something, that's okay, we'll have a laugh, we'll play with it together, and at least I won't be a complete failure, you know?
So it sounds like you're saying that did this lead to your step number 3, which is fear?
Yes, it does.
On purpose?
What's that? Focus
on the purpose?
No, that's just part of it. But hey, take it. Take that point. Let's make it 4 points. Why not? I mean, there's many different. I just was for this call bringing it down to 3 essential points, but that is definitely part of it. The focus.
And so, what is point number 3?
And having the play with it. But the point is that it ended up going great. Got great feedback. Legs were shaking all the while, so I was dancing with the fear, but I was able to do what I needed to do because of that, focus and intention. So I'm just bringing that to light about being willing to dance in that comfort zone, even if you're just consumed with the negative voices or the fear. You can do that. Don't wait until it's gone to dance in the uncomfort zone. You just have to take it with you. If you don't have to, but if it's just be willing to go there whether you take it with you or not. So the third step.
We're running out of time here, Lynn. I just wanted to try and get your third point nailed down before we shut down. Can you quickly summarize that?
Yes, the third point, and this is why it plays together, is taking action. So, we want to take action, though, not from a just push through it, just do it type of space, because then that's not fully embracing everything. That is just like cracking a whip. We want to take action from a place of where we really tune in with what feels right. What do we need to do? Staying present, choosing to play with it, and sometimes stepping out in that uncomfort zone, but then take whatever action, the littlest step. Sometimes that littlest step can feel like the biggest leap, but just be willing to take that littlest step. And even if it's not the right step in that direction, now you know, now you can go another way. And in the process, you will grow and become stronger. So when you combine just embracing where you are, embracing your humanness, being willing to dance with whatever comes up, but being willing to dance in that uncomfort zone and take those littlest steps, and just take that action, learn, and go to the next and the next. From there, you'll get stronger, and you will play your biggest game ever.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I'm afraid we are out of time now, so we're going to have to wrap up here. But I really want to thank you for joining us today and for just sharing your beautiful heart with us and your amazing spirit. And I know we'll have another chance in the future to connect again. But meanwhile, I'm going to ask Tommy to kind of take us away and let everybody know what we're going to be doing next week.
All right. Well, again, Lynn, thanks so much for joining us. I wish I had that advice when I was going to school at the school dance. I maybe would have danced with a girl once in a while. But next week we're going to do something different, and we've been sending emails about this. Keep sending your ideas in, because next week it's called the Life Matters TV Free-for-All. And we're taking all of your ideas and we're putting them in a fishbowl, and we're going to pick out some random ideas, and we're going to do our best to answer your questions or talk about the topics that matter to you today. So let's say farewell to Lynn and David. Have a great weekend.
Can we just let people know that if they like, I'd certainly love to just give a song that helps you stand in your power. And if they go to lynnrose.com, that free song will be sent to you. You can listen to it every day and get motivated and going for it. It's called Stand Up.
And what's the website again? Lynnrose.com?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this conversation. Love what you're up to. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.